Just a reminder about the show, not like my thoughts on
Yeah. Just remember, every other Sunday.
Every other Sunday.
Unless something happens.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
In a world. This is our Oscar movie trailer. In a world where Logan's voice is still a little hoarse. Nay. What? No.
Yeah. What's like a good Oscar movie that we can make right here? Like a good Oscar-worthy voice podcast.
Hey, may I have a coffee, please?
I only have like one voice and it's my own.
May I have a coffee, please?
Yes, and.
Yes, and.
Thanks. Maybe a latte. Pumpkin spice.
Yes, and.
This coffee's really good.
Yes, and.
Well, my horse is getting angry at me because I spent too much time in this coffee shop.
Yes, and.
Hey, horse, come on in. My horse, would you like a drink? I can't make you, but I can lead you to it.
Hey, you can't lead a horse to water in this restaurant.
But the sign says I could.
Yes, and.
Oh, well.
This is rough. Okay, scene 2. I'm looking for something.
Well, what are you looking for? Maybe I can help you.
I'm looking for a bunch of yellow paint.
Yellow paint. I don't have yellow paint, but I have orange paint.
See, it's really got to be yellow. I've got to paint something yellow.
How about we take the orange paint and we call it yellow?
I need yellow paint, sir. This is the 8th Home Depot I've been to, and you are not being as helpful as the other people. They tried to make yellow, but they ended up just making orange. Like, yeah. What is the problem? I know your like logo is orange, but yellow is a different color than orange.
Yeah.
Maybe you would like a nice swatches. I need there's sunflower, sunshine, like all these sun words.
Here are all the colors I have. There's green, but it's actually orange. There's red, but it's actually orange. There's brown, but it's actually orange.
Yeah, those are orange.
Yeah, so here's my yellow.
That's actually green.
What?
Watch out, Second City. You got nothing on this. This wildly entertaining banter.
Yeah. I'm bantering.
It'd be funny. We should have like a script, of Oscar films.
Have a fake Oscar film.
Well, I should be. We should have a game where I read the line and you try to guess which Oscar-winning film it was in.
Ooh, that would be fun.
But too late now.
Yeah.
Hey, can I have some coffee?
No, not this again.
Sure. Would you like it black or with cream and sugar?
Oh, definitely black. I love me some black coffee.
Here you go. Here's some nice black coffee. That'll be $100, please.
That's not coffee. That's yellow paint. I was trying to find yellow paint 2 years ago. And then,
2 years ago, what happened to your voice?
I was looking for so much yellow paint that my voice just went really hoarse.
Horse?
Yes, my horse is outside. I'm gonna bring him in. My horse is yellow.
What's the name for a yellow horse?
Buttercup.
Buttercup, yeah.
Hey, Buttercup, come on in, horse. They've got yellow paint. That's your favorite thing to drink, huh?
Would you like some yellow paint with that coffee?
No, I want some coffee.
Huh? Coffee? Here you go.
And paint and sugar.
Okay, I'm trying to imagine the color of coffee with paint in it.
It's
It'd be
Probably just like cream, but like a
it'd be
little.
like light brownish yellow, like a nice banana color.
Well, you see, you want to have your coffee, like the coloring of the coffee is super important. So, that's why you mix in the paint. If you don't mix in the paint, it doesn't look as appealing and you won't drink it.
That's true. That's definitely the case.
Yeah. So, however, I do highly recommend when you're adding paint to your coffee,
Yeah.
you should try a very nice fuchsia.
Ooh, fuchsia. What's that? Is that like a pink?
Yeah, but it just makes your coffee alive.
So it's like a probiotic in my coffee.
No, the
Is
probiotic.
it actually flowers like actually the fuchsia plant?
No,
is
no,
it
no,
just
no,
the
no.
color of a
It's the
fuchsia?
color of fuchsia.
Okay, yeah.
Probiotics in your coffee are extra. But I can include kale in your coffee for free.
What about the guacamole? Is that extra? Because most places they give it to you for free.
Free guac?
Oh yeah. Every time I go to Chipotle, they're like, "Do you want guac? It doesn't cost extra."
No, sorry. Here, guac is $1.
Speaking of avocados, I had a very disappointing salad at Denny's a couple of days ago.
Was there any avocado?
I ordered avocado, and there was like a quarter of an avocado in it. It was not made with care. Let me just say, it was not a dish made with passion.
Well, that's because you need the passion fruit if you want a dish made with passion.
No, I'm talking about a different kind of passion. I'm talking about like when the cook.
Sex?
No. Do you know what words mean? Like when you're cooking some food, I want you to have you care about the food.
So, like a joie de vivre when it comes to food?
Exactly. Whatever that French word means. Basically, if you say any French words when describing food, it automatically makes it delicious.
Mad.
À la mode. Merde à la mode. What's actually à la mode means like in the style of, or in the normal way, right? It doesn't mean with ice cream. It means like the way it's normally served. So like poo-poo à la mode. I don't know like what's like the way it's usually served. Does it come on a plate? Does it come in some sort of bowl with like a little bit of water in the bottom of it?
Probably the bowl.
Okay.
In fact, if you want it, there is some in the restroom. Just follow me.
I was gonna say like no, you have to eat it in the special room. Like
That actually sounds really fancy. Having like
A special
like if you go to a fancy restaurant and there's like one dish that you like are required to go, like you can't go in this room without ordering this dish, and if you order this dish, you have to go in this room to eat it in. Like I don't know like what the actual like room looks like.
What's the dish too?
Well, no,
how about this? Is
they
it
don't
because,
tell you.
Oh, so you're like, I'll have this chef special, and they're like, this way, please, and
Yeah.
then you take you in there, and it turns out it's that food from Indonesia that smells really bad but tastes really good.
Durian.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I'd still like to try it at some point.
Yeah. Or it's gonna be something like super stupid. It's gonna be like top ramen. It's like,
What does the top mean? Is it stove top?
I think it's stovetop ramen.
But like, what ramen is not cooked on the stove top? Like a nice baked ramen.
baked ramen.
Ramen lasagna. No.
Oh.
What are some like bad ramen dishes that we could make?
Like bad. What would be in bad ramen? Like
Like a ramen salad. Like instead of pasta salad, it's like ramen.
yeah, that would be weird.
I mean, I guess it's like if it was dressed, if it was sort of like an Asian salad that had like
Yeah, that's the thing
cabbage
though.
and kind
Is
of like
it
a
sounds weird,
a
but
soy
like
dressing of some
if
kind.
you did like an Asian salad, you could probably put like if as long as it isn't like noodle based, but just like little bits of noodle. I can
or it's
see
like you could
doing
put
like
noodles
dried
in.
noodles in.
Yeah. Well, I think you could have it be like an
No,
actual
you
pasta
cook them, but
salad.
they're like, yeah, maybe,
I mean, you could put dry noodles in as like the crunch,
yeah.
but that might be. I think you might have to like fry them and then put them in, so they're not like.
Yeah,
I feel
you'd
like
still
they're
need to, like,
too
prep them.
too stiff.
Yeah, you would probably want to cook them,
Mm-hmm.
let them sit, and then like fry them, and then sprinkle that on top. But
Okay.
yeah, I'm trying to think what would be bad ramen. Like I wouldn't want to have fish ramen, but I can see that being an actual thing.
for one of the Nick taste tests, they did like a chocolate ramen, which I didn't actually taste, but it's something that's like we found the recipe online.
So wait, is it like ramen noodles and like a chocolate sauce, like a chocolate fondue? But okay,
It wasn't like in like a bath of chocolate sauce. It was more like a chocolate broth.
okay.
And I'm not sure if the broth was like chicken broth with chocolate in it or if it was just like a runny chocolate.
Or you take like you dilute chocolate down with probably like maybe milk or water, and then just to create like a broth like
Maybe.
texture. And then I'm trying to think what you would add to it. I could see you like adding like dessert ish type things to like a dish and then calling it ramen.
Is there like a dessert pasta? It seems like pasta doesn't have a strong enough taste to really require it be a savory food, but it always is. I can't think of like a.
I'm sure you could. I mean, like especially if it's, you could probably like do like, I bet like there's like a dessert ravioli. I can see that being a thing where it's like
Ooh.
stuffed because you get cheese stuffed in there already, and if you have the right cheese, that could be a sweet texture.
Like maybe
and
like a
little bit of
Danish
berry.
or
Yeah,
something,
like
right?
add a little bit of berry to it or something. I can see there being, I can see there being like a dessert ravioli.
There has to be a good name for it though. Like nothing really rhymes with ravioli. I mean, I'm sure there is stuff, but like I'm trying to think of like a punny name for
Yeah,
it.
no, like a chocolatoli.
That's not bad. It sounds like cannoli. But,
Yeah, that's well, cannoli is pastry,
Kind of, yeah.
but not a pasta.
Like, okay, we must go on Rhyme Zone to find out.
Yeah.
Like, what do we name this dessert
Wait, no.
ravioli? Havioli?
I
Halvioli? That doesn't really make any sense.
honestly, you could just probably just call it dessert ravioli and be fine.
That's true.
Dessertvoli. That's bad.
Ravicoli. No, it's E. coli, not E. coli. I don't know why this isn't selling. Why is it not selling my Ravicoli? I thought it was delicious.
E. coli.
It doesn't have E. coli in it.
What?
Ravioli? It's like a donut hole.
Yeah, but it's okay. No.
It's very hard to rhyme something with ravioli. It just gives me like words that Constantinople. I use that maybe like 4 times a day. If that.
Constantinople. Yeah, you know what? That's true. It's one of my favorite words.
I'm trying to think of what else could you call like dessert pasta. It's got to rhyme. It's got to rhyme. Ooh, but like you could have like penne cannoli. Because like a cannoli is kind of that shape.
Yeah,
anyway.
that's true.
That might be kind of good. I think you'd have to make the actual pasta like dough a little bit sweeter, probably.
Yeah, like so if you made the pasta dough yourself, added like more sugar to it. If
Or
there's
something.
yeah.
Or like you could get like fun colors if you mixed like different like berry juice or whatever.
Or you could even do like just bits of food coloring too.
No, this is a fancy restaurant.
Oh, so you want to have like the pasta's flavored.
I want the flavors of it's coming through.
Yeah, so you could probably do like berries to get like different flavors, like blueberry flavored pasta, strawberry flavored pasta, raspberry flavored pasta.
That might be
and then
kinda
you do like a
good,
little
yeah.
bit of like cream on top.
Yeah, it's like
With like
that makes it like a lot.
glaze.
That's just like mini pastries, basically. I'm wondering like if you just sort of like make the sauce. It'd be sort of moving towards like a Jello salad where it's like there's like a sweet sauce. So I'm just trying to think of like, is there a way to make
Oh, so
it?
you're saying like you would even have like a sweet sauce and all that. So
Yeah,
where
like
it's
how
a
do you make
full-blown
it
pasta.
not? I feel like not having like a milk based sauce would be good. It just has to be refreshing. It has to be like a summery.
So you wouldn't want necessarily. So you would do like a berry based sauce.
a berry bays. No,
Yeah.
that's not great. Yeah, that might be an invention for this summer. Since I do have the pasta machine, it like
right.
makes some sort of like. Again, it might just totally screw up how the dough actually like solidifies and stuff.
Yeah, so
but-
it'd be one of those things that you'd have to experiment with a lot, just because if it upsets the chemistry of the pasta, it could just like completely fall apart when you go to cook it.
But I think it'd be interesting just to like try. I mean, it'd be cool to have the different colors actually taste differently. I feel like a lot of times with pasta, if it's like there's like the green ones and like the yellow ones, like the spinach.
Yeah,
ones
they
and
all.
tomato, it's like I don't really.
I don't notice the difference that much.
I've always wondered with things like this where there's like a lot of different colors in there. Like Skittles, they actually taste different, the different colors. But like I feel like there's
You're
some
more
other
like
things-
M&M's where it's just like
Well,
different
M&M's
colors.
obviously, but I feel like there are some like multicolored foods that kind of all taste the same. Like
Yeah.
because you kind of eat it like I'm trying to think of like some sort of cereal where there's like bits and other bits.
And all the bits are the same.
I just wonder if they are all the same. I feel like Lucky Charms, like all the marshmallows taste the same. I guess maybe I was thinking Apple Jacks. Maybe I had that a couple days ago.
You're talking to the one person.
Yeah, I know
who
you don't
doesn't
like
eat
cereal.
so
I feel like every time I have cereal, I am reminded that it's not that great, except for the Cocoa Puffs. Those are off the charts amazing.
I remember loving Oreo O's when I was a kid. I don't think they make those anymore.
I feel
But that's like pure sugar in a bowl.
like there's nothing redeeming about like Cookie Crisp or Cinnamon Toast Crunch or even the
Yeah.
Like it feels like even like Cheerios themselves are like on the edge of are they healthy or not, even though they kind of like they're healthy, but
Well, my thing, I know I've told you this. It's the fact that I'll be hungry like 15 minutes later. I can
Yeah.
have like a full bowl of cereal and I'll be starving 15 minutes later. It's like it makes my hunger worse. So I'm just like, you know what? I'm not even going to, like, I'll just skip the step of being hungry, more hungry, and just make the meal I was going to make that I was trying to skip a cereal.
yeah.
Like, it's to where I haven't bought cereal, I think, ever.
I haven't bought cereal also.
Well, you also,
It's like a workplace.
it's a
thing.
workplace thing.
It's one of those trendy workplaces that has cereal. But
Yeah.
that was really cool like 20 years ago.
Yeah, like to me, it's like
I'm not going to complain,
like when we
but
were
I am going to complain.
when we were working out at the Viacom office. I love the fact that you get like a hard boiled egg, but it's like if they had
You
cereal,
could if you fought a bunch of other people for it.
or you went at the right time.
It was not easy to get the good food there.
Yeah, it depended on the food. Like it depended on the day and who. I noticed that they're depending on how many people they had on staff or who the staff people was. It could be just like super hit and miss. But I like the fact it wasn't just cereal bar because then I actually used it.
Mm-hmm.
But if it had been like, because I think they had some cereal stuff, but it was like that was not the thing.
Yeah.
And
I did like the Special K with berries. Again, not healthy whatsoever. It's just like eating candy, but
Yeah.
it was really good.
I'll stick to my morning waffle, which is probably also not the best.
No,
but
absolutely not.
no, I don't do
What's in
syrup.
a waffle?
It's just flour. Like there's actually not that much sugar in it, but it's like
But
mostly
like flour is a sugar.
Yeah, but
There's no protein or hardly any. Do you put any egg in it?
yeah, there's some egg in it. But I usually I don't use syrup. I use peanut butter and applesauce. And
It's a
then
little bit better.
yeah,
I wish it was not so hard to find peanut butter that doesn't have sugar in it.
I should check.
I mean, it's not like that hard to find, but I feel like in general, most peanut butter has like sugar in it.
Oh yeah, I feel like you get Jif or whatever peanut butter. It's like pure sugar and
Yeah.
a little bit of peanut.
And it's always, I remember that was all I had when I was younger, and it
Was
wasn't
Jif?
or just regular. I think it was Jif. Gif.
No. Gif, yeah. When you use your Gif peanut butter,
But like it's weird when you have like just peanut butter because it's like it's so stupid, but you eat it and you're like, this tastes like peanuts.
yeah, no, my mom never bought Jif. She always bought Adams,
Yeah.
which is actually like
Sometimes
peanuts
it can
and
be,
salt.
yeah.
I think I should double check. I think the peanut butter I've been buying is just peanuts and salt.
I mean, I'm saying you can get it. It's just
I think what
the sugar doesn't really add that much to
it doesn't add that much to it, but I've noticed this if I go to like say it's been a long time since I've been at a place with a continental breakfast or anything like that, if they have peanut butter, it's always like the sugary peanut butter. So where it's not hard for me to personally find peanut butter without
In, like,
sugar
a grocery
in a grocery store, but like out in the world, if you're not just getting something from the grocery store, it's all the sugary stuff.
Sugar.
The last show I PA'd on, we would keep supplies of peanut butter in the fridge because peanut butter's, if someone needs a quick snack, peanut butter's great. Just do a bit
Unless
of
you're
toast.
allergic to it.
Unless you're allergic to it. So we would have like peanut butter with so people could have like toast with peanut butter on it. And someone apparently complained because when we would do grocery runs, we would buy like the peanut butter that was just peanut salt done. And one day someone was like, can you buy Jif, to the guy who mainly went on the grocery runs, and he did. She's like, I can't believe people buy this other stuff, and just like layered Jif on. And I was just like, I know I had like, whenever I'd be at like at a cousin's house or something, like my aunt would buy like the Jif peanut butter, and that'd be the only time I have it. And I remember as a kid being like, his peanut butter is great. And the reason I liked it wasn't because, the sugar, I'm sure as a kid I was like, sugar. But it was the fact that it was easier to spread. That's something I will give, is like the Jifs and the other ones are way easier to spread.
It's not the sugar, though. It's the palm oil that they put in there that keeps it from separating and makes it like very spreadable. So I think you can get peanut butter that's just peanuts and palm oil. Even though palm oil, I believe, is, like, not something you should be eating because it's, like, they're cutting down the rainforest to get it. So
We have plenty of those. That's not a problem. There's no such thing as global warming. It snowed in Los Angeles. What was that?
Oh, that's for the viewers to find out.
Oh.
Go away.
So, yeah, Logan is like super nice, and he's a great guy to be around. And don't tell him though.
So how'd that go?
I think the audience really knows what's up with you. I kind of laid it out there. Like, this is kind of the issues that Logan has, like, in general, as, like, a person.
That I'm a horrible human being?
Yeah, the personality is, like, on a scale of 10. It's on a scale. It's on a scale of 10.
And not whether or not it's a good personality, mind you, but just personality.
Your personality is on a scale.
My personality is on a scale. I'm just going to say... it's a 10, but that might not be a good thing.
Your personality is overweight. I don't know what that means. Like, if you have it, like... Yes, I'm Logan, and my personality is obese. You're like, what? So you have too. Is that like? I guess it's like you have too much personality. If your personality.
Well, so if you say my personality is, what if you're like
much.
My personality is fat? It's a fat personality. Like what is like which one? If you described your personality as fat or obese, which one is the worst description to use? Because obese is worse than fat in terms of weight scale, I think, right? Because usually fat, people use it for overweight.
I feel like fat is not, it's like a more vague term, but I don't know if it's like...
Because if I say my personality is overweight, that's not
the
as
most
bad as
overweight
obese.
person in the world is fat.
True. Fat is a very non-specific term.
Obese is very clinical.
Yeah.
Which is why it's like the nicer thing, I guess you could say. But anyway, as a personality, I don't know what it even means to have a fat personality. Because as long as you're clear that
my personality
I'm not like the personality of a fat person. The personality itself.
Would that mean an
fat.
anorexic personality is like devoid of personality?
I don't know. I tire of this conversation.
Let's move on.
Moving on to... We'll pick one of these neighborhoods.
Let's bitch about LAX.
Sherman Oaks. What up with Sherman Oaks? What's like the best thing about Sherman Oaks? The best thing. Would you like to live close to Ventura. I feel like it's one of those things, like, it's kind of like,
The apartments are nicer, but it's greener because the apartments are nicer. But I mean, it's
like, would it be sort of like walkable? It just feels like, it seems like it would be. But I don't know if there's any stores along Ventura that I really have much interest in.
Friends who live in Sherman Oaks near Ventura, and there are things down there that I would like to be able to, like, I'd probably go to if I could walk to them, but like they're not places I'd want to drive to. Like there's a game store down there it's not the best game store, but it's, there's a game store. So if I lived down there,
it is a game store.
I would probably walk to it. And when I worked at the theater in Sherman Oaks, I would sometimes walk to it or the comic book store there. Usually if I'm going to a comic book store, I would go there. But now that Charles works at a game store, I go to the one in Burbank because that's the one he works at.
Yep.
So it's like, they get my patronage because of that rather than.
Yeah.
But the thing too is, I probably, like, if Charles stopped working there, I would still go there instead because it's a better store. Just because the game store, I always felt unwelcome in the game store in Sherman Oaks. And,
Oh, really?
Yeah, and if
Game stores are kind of like that sometimes.
game stores are kind of like that, and if I felt unwelcome in there, imagine if I was not a straight white man. Like
Yeah.
It's there. I was a privileged person, and I felt like
you go in
I could
there
go in there.
with like the encyclopedic Star Wars and Lord of the Rings knowledge, which is a traditional nerd knowledge.
and I did not feel welcome in there. Like
by like the owners or by like the customers?
It just was like, it's kind of one of those things where in customer service, where if like you're used to like a Target, I don't give a shit if anyone interacts with me. But if I'm in like a small store, even just saying, "Hi, let me know if you need anything," not getting that can speak volumes. And I like never got that. And what made it even more weird is if I would go in there with people who did have a good relationship with the owner, I'd still would just be like this invisible person. And I'm just like, this is weird that I know people who have like could go in and have conversations about then again, that store was definitely more onto the Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon Magic the Gathering spectrum, and I'm not on that.
Is very like siloized.
It can be. So like basically it was in the card game silo, and since I'm not a part of the card game silo, I didn't have like a means of getting in.
Gotcha.
And since that was 90% what that store did, like it didn't help that I didn't have anything to like really be like, this is my thing that I'm. So there's that aspect to it. But if you are not part of that group and you're coming in and there's like no welcoming introduction, it can be kind of off-putting.
That's true.
So
it's always interesting when I feel like people who maybe this is unfair, but like I would imagine that most people who are kind of nerds in quotes are sort of have trouble relating to other people. Like they're usually, more socially awkward. I'm not saying it's you, but I'm just saying like if you just had to like draw what a nerd is, you'd put like these traits on them. And it seems like a lot of times
the people who fit those traits the most seem to do the best at a game store.
Yes, but they also are like, they sort of push away the thing that they would probably make them happier. Again, I don't know if this is fair. This is just kind of a generalization, but I just wonder, it's like by being kind of unwelcoming when it comes to your fandoms, it sort of just makes it even harder for you to have like actual friendships.
Make this argument where it's just, where if you were picked on as a kid for whatever you were a fan of, that you naturally, I'm trying to think of the best way to put it. It's
like you sort of like build like a wall.
You have this you have this wall around it to where I think it's the kind of like the mainstreamification, lots of quotes around mainstreamification of things that were typically considered part of the geek nerd culture, like comic book, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, anything where it was possible to like nerd out on the project. When it gets mainstream acceptance, you are upset because that was your thing. And I mean, I've had that with some things.
It's almost like
where you get
do
upset
nerds
that
really want to be not necessarily have the community, but sort of like do you think it's more like a personal thing? Like, I want to know the most about this. Like, I want to be like the
For
person
me,
who knows
it's not that I
everything
want to be the person who knows it. For like, this is for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily. I don't consider myself the person who knows it when it comes to like Lord of the Rings or Star Wars. In my group of friends, I probably might have like the most knowledge, but that doesn't mean that I have the encyclopedic perfect knowledge of it. There are people out there who have a better understanding and better knowledge of it than me. What I usually find is the people who have a similarly deep encyclopedic knowledge of something, even if they may or may not have a deeper understanding than me, if they think that makes them a better fan of the property than me, those tend to be the people I find are engaged in gatekeeping the most. Where I think it's a personality thing. Where it just, the fact that they know a lot isn't the reason they gatekeep. They use their knowledge of the project to gatekeep. And I think the gatekeeping is an aspect of their personality that is independent of their knowledge. It just so happens that the people who...
Do you think the people who, like, let's just Star Wars, the people who know the most about that, do you think that they enjoy spending time with other people who know a lot about it? Or do you, I get the impression that it's almost competitive.
Oh yeah, there's definitely a competitive nature.
Where it's like,
which is one of the
spending time with people who enjoy your fandoms is kind of unpleasant to a lot.
Yeah,
it's not,
which is one of the
supportive
things,
or anything.
Which is one of the things I find frustrating is, as much as I would like to engage with people inside a lot of these fandoms, one of the problems I'm having as a fan is that there is this, well, no real Star Wars fan, blank. No real Lord of the Rings fan, blank. And it's like, guys, I don't care. Because this is the thing. My sister has never read any of the Star Wars novels, hasn't watched any of the TV shows, might never ever watch them, will definitely never read them. She's gone with me to see not necessarily opening night, but when I have gone to go see the Star Wars movie when it comes out, there's been one person who's been constant from Attack of the Clones on, and that's Caitlin. She's a fan of Star Wars. She likes Star Wars. She owns them. She watches them. She likes them. She will occasionally enjoy talking about them. She doesn't go to the depths and levels I do when it comes to those fandoms. That doesn't mean she's not a fan. The problem is there are people out there who would say that she's not.
It's just like a different kind of fan.
Yeah. Like, I want to know all the stuff about it because I love the universe, so I want to know more about it. That's just me and my personality. If I find something interesting and intriguing, I want to know as much as I can as fast as I can, so I will go in a deep dive on it.
Is there much, like, I'm just wondering if there's much benefit to there being like a Comic-Con. Like, what is that for?
I think Comic-Con is like a great example of the problem, in the sense that there's a lot of people at Comic-Con who are upset about how it's become mainstream. Problem is, I'm more on
themselves.
Yeah,
this is like what every fandom is.
Yeah,
right?
and my problem is I'm more on the mainstream spectrum than I am on like the core comic book fan spectrum, because you could look at my comics on my shelf and they're all tie-ins to another fan base. They're all either Firefly or Star Wars or Buffy. And I've read some of like the mainstream comics, and it's because people have given them to me to read, not because I have sought them out. Or no, that's not true. I have sought them out to read them in some cases, but for the most part, it's because someone's like, "Oh, you like this? You'll probably enjoy this." But I get on some level why a lot of these fans are upset, because what has happened is the comic book aspect of Comic-Con has kind of died because it's too expensive.
How long has it been going on, Comic-Con?
70s.
Okay.
And as these conventions have become more popular, they become more driven by pop culture. A lot of these people who've been going to these conventions they're feeling shut out. And I think that's kind of fair, because the reason these conventions started is going away. If you were a comic book store that used to go to Comic-Con every year and that was a big part of your sales, you can't afford to do it anymore. But on the flip side, that doesn't necessarily mean that the people who are going are invalid. I think it's fair to sit there and question why some things are at Comic-Con. I still don't get why Glee went. It just felt like, is that really the audience? But apparently it was.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And that's the thing. That's the thing I often say or try to explain to people sometimes when I say I don't like series X or Y, or don't watch a series. In a lot of cases, it's because I know I'm not their target market, so I'm not going to get as much joy out of it, or possibly any. It doesn't mean that the thing isn't good, or it isn't valid, or that it's bad. It just means that it's not for me. And I think the problem is there's a lot of people out there who don't have that same mindset, to where, oh, it's not for me, it's bad. And sometimes they might be right, sometimes something might be bad, but that doesn't necessarily mean all of it is.
I think it's interesting how much like brands are going to Comic-Con now.
Yeah,
and I don't know what it actually does for them. I'm just thinking, like, for years, like, TV Land was going to Comic-Con and they were having panels and stuff, and it's like there's some people who are interested, but it's a very confusing market to be in, because it's like, who is at Comic-Con now? Like, who is going? It seems like it's a lot of people who are going there for work.
For some shows, it's because the people who watch it are the kind of people who are going, and I think that's big for like the science fiction. And like some of the fantasy shows, like Game of Thrones, is because the fan base is like the type of people who would have been into Game of Thrones before Game of Thrones was the thing, were the type of people who would go to Comic-Con. So you would want to go there to help build buzz. Like Doctor Who is the kind of show that is their market, is the people who would go to Comic-Con. They aren't necessarily going to do like great at the TCAs type thing. But that means I think that's for a lot of science fiction shows or anything like that. You're not necessarily going to be the it show for the traditional press outlets. So you're going to go to where your fan base is, so you can try to generate buzz there. But what happened is people saw Comic-Con as a successful means of launching something to where bigger and bigger brands and bigger series that weren't necessarily part of that genre began to go. And as they began to go, more and more people began to attend who were outside of that spectrum. And I think what's happened is Comic-Con has hit this weird point of where it has become so big it is both the thing and irrelevant. It's weird how it can be both at the same time.
Should Comic-Con have been more careful with who they... Like, do they have to sort of curate their convention more? Like, I feel like a lot of times conventions are sort of like, whoever can be here, come on, let's
whereas Comic-Con has the exact opposite problem where they...
Well, now. But probably at a certain point, it was like, oh, you want to come in?
In the 2000s, it was apparently when that switch happened, where it went from being anyone could... Not necessarily anyone.
So, yeah, I'm just wondering if, like, conventions that aren't so big now or that are kind of starting up are being a little more careful about, like, actually curating the content just to be sure that what the convention is what it is about.
Because I've been interested in... It's been a while since I've been to a convention, but the ones I've been most interested in have been ones that are about a specific thing. Remember the last time I went to Comic-Con, that year I'd gone to WonderCon as well for a day.
That's the Star Wars?
No, it's the convention run by Comic-Con in Anaheim.
Okay.
And I did that one with Caitlin because since I had professional pass credentials at the time, I could go for free. So I could take a guest, so I took Caitlin and her roommate, because I could actually take 2 guests for a day, and we just walked the show floor. We did that one instead of Celebration, which is the Star Wars one, because we would have had to pay to go to Celebration. And that was the year Force Awakens was, like, so the trailer for Force Awakens played there, and, like, everyone was getting hyped about Force Awakens, and I happened to be on the light rail system in San Diego. I made a comment to someone from Lucasfilm, because of someone from who helps Lucasfilm with their booths had been on the train going to the convention, and she's like, yeah, you made a huge mistake. And I think that's kind of how I've been feeling about conventions. It's not that I don't want to go as much as if I'm going to go, I want to go for this thing and this thing in particular. And it's possible now to do even smaller events. Like I know OneRing.net does events in Los Angeles that I've been looking at going. It's just in the past, I've either not been able to go because I'm either working, because I was working production, or if I was working at the theater, days where those are best for most people are days that would not be best for me. But those are the things I find myself more interested in. And my hope is if you're going to an event like that, the type of people who are going to go are the type of people who aren't going to necessarily gatekeep. But I know my fear is with Star Wars in particular, because Star Wars is really dealing with this a lot right now, is that there are people out there who just want to trash everything happening, and it's just getting goddamn annoying.
Or they wouldn't like anything.
It's not that they wouldn't like anything, they've chosen not to like anything, because it started with Disney tossing all of the ancillary material and basically being like, that's not canon anymore, which was fine, because a lot of it was garbage. And if you're going to do a film that's based 30 years after the last film in the series, people aren't going to be... If you introduce a bunch of characters in the movie and the only people who know what's going on are the people who read all the books, you would have been fucked.
Yeah.
So it needed to have been cut. But a lot of people were upset about that. And then Force Awakens comes out. The fan base, by and large, enjoys it. Fan base, by and large, enjoys Rogue One. And so these people who were upset about, oh, this is all, like, they're doing female protagonists because they're wanting to be, like, hip and progressive and blah, 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 and they're upsetting the fan base, were such a small minority that they had no voice. It was the moment Last Jedi came out, and it was divisive. And that the fan base just, a lot of people didn't like it, a lot of people loved it, that these trolls were able to, like, thrive. And it just has gone to the point where I just don't want to engage with the fan base, because you can sit there and not be talking about Last Jedi. Someone's going to bring it up, and immediately becomes like a whole just slog of people just being
Is
dicks.
there a fan base that you feel isn't poison?
I feel like the Lord of the Rings fan base right now isn't.
I wonder if it's only like once the actual release of content slows or stops, if that's when fans can kind of like
I think
figure it, like they kind of reaches like an equilibrium.
There's something to that, because when Empire Strikes Back came out, apparently it was just panned and the fan base didn't like it, and it was like, oh, it's not as good, and now it's considered the best Star Wars
that
film.
one Star Wars movie that's come out so far.
Yeah, and it's now considered the best Star Wars film. I think part of it is, as something ages, the amount of content around it just slowly declines, and so the only people involved are the people who really loved it.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting how, like, the thing that you're a fan of, it's sort of a one-way street. Like, you are a fan of the thing that was made. Mm-hmm. Maybe I lost my train of thought here, but...
I mean, it's possible to be a fan of something and not like something that's made in it. It's possible. Like I
guess, but then you're not a fan of it.
No, that's not true. And here's my reason for that. I'm a fan of Lord of the Rings. I'm not a big fan of the first movie that was ever made of it, the Bakshi animated film. Mm-hmm. Still a fan of Lord of the Rings because there's the books, there's the other movies, there's all the other things that go around it. The BBC radio drama is amazing. I'm a fan of Lord of the Rings. If I wasn't a fan of the books, I probably wouldn't be a fan of the other things. But it's possible to be a fan of Lord of the Rings and never read the books because of the movies. With Star Wars, I think it's the same thing. You can not like one of the Star Wars books and still be a fan of Star Wars. You can not like one of the Star Wars movies or an entire trilogy, prequels, and still be a fan of Star Wars because there's so much other material around out there.
What's the percentage that you have to like to actually be an actual fan versus like...
I think you have to be a fan of the universe. And that doesn't necessarily mean you have to love the content, but you... Because I'm not a big fan of, say, like, Attack of the Clowns. It's a bad movie. But I enjoy this universe enough that I look past it. And I think that's what it is you don't necessarily have to like something within something you're a fan of. Because if you have to 100% love everything, you're going to lose.
I'm just wondering, it just seems weird that, like, because why would you have agency over the thing that... Why? Right.
It's, I guess, on your point, too, it's, like, possible to be a fan of a TV show and be willing to admit that a TV show has a bad episode.
That's true.
Like, nothing's ever going to be 100%. And if you are ever holding that thing to the expectation that it's going to be 100% good 100% of the time, especially if it is an ongoing project or thing, the moment you expect it to be 100% of the time, you're setting yourself for failure every single time. Yeah. So it's, I think to be a fan of something, you have to be willing to be disappointed by it and not have that destroy your fandom of the thing. So, like with Star Wars, with Force Awakens, I was so nervous because I didn't want it to be bad, but I was at the same time, prepared for it. We already had bad. So it didn't necessarily mean the end of the universe if there was a bad Star Wars film. It's already happened. There are things I don't like about Last Jedi, but there are things I love about Last Jedi. And I can take the good with the bad. The problem is there are people out there who have an agenda of where I think the problem with fan bases and where this whole at what point do you stop being a fan thing is a problem is that there are people who think that because they're a fan of the project, it has to cater itself to them specifically.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of the problems on the internet are happening right now, is because a lot of the traditional comic book fans are straight white men. And so when you have a comic book movie like Captain Marvel that's not about a straight white man, and that person starts doing things that you don't like, you sit there and say, oh, look, I'm being repressed. And it's like, no, you're the fucking majority. It's kind of hard to repress the majority. Like, it's the whole when you are used, what's the phrase? It's like when you are used to being, I forget the line, but it's like when you're used to being a favored status, like anything, like the minority asserting themselves feels like oppression. It's like, I forget the line. There's a way better line for it.
I know that guy.
I think we just let it sit, James.
It broke.
Oh, well, I'm hungry, so I think this is actually something that has been on my mind for a while, and it's something I'm planning to write about. And the reason why I'm planning to write about it isn't because I necessarily because I want people to read my thing. It's more because I think by writing about it, I can actually think about the thing itself and make sure that everything's been thought through rather than it's just blah. And I think for something like this, it's going to be better in writing than in
Likely.
stream of consciousness. But it's definitely something I've been thinking a lot about. So
Be sure to watch #General, the show with the most.
I don't know what you're going for, but yes, it's
I was gonna say like the set is as shitty as it looks.